Could adult male sheep help solve one of sport's toughest medical mysteries? Researchers at the University of Auckland are set to study the brains of head-butting rams to understand the long-term effects of repeated head knocks in humans. The work could reveal why some athletes go on to develop conditions like CTE and Alzheimer's, while others stay healthy. Dr. Helen Murray is with the University of Auckland Centre for Brain Research and joins me this morning. Good morning.
Kia ora, thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So why adult male? Why not female?
Well,
is it just the men who did males who do it?
In the sheep world, the rams tend to do a lot of this headbutting when they're trying to establish a social dominance hierarchy in their little mob.
Okay. Now, what are you going to learn or hoping to learn from them?
Well, this is a really novel model because when we study human brains, we're studying a brain that's folded, has lots of folds in it. And it turns out that sheep also have a very similar kind of folded brain structure. And all the things that go wrong that we think in a head knock is happening at the bottom of those folds. And so the rams are really interesting because they naturally do a lot of this headbutting, so a natural model of repeated head injuries, and they have a similar brain structure to humans in a lot of ways. So this is a great way for us to understand the timeline of how things might change after lots of impacts.
The folding, what do you mean we've got folded brains?
Well, our brains are not sort of a smooth thing, right? They have these beautiful folds. We call them gyri and sulci, the crests and the fold of the brain. And so we have lots of these folds throughout our brain, and all of the force of an impact actually concentrates at the bottom of those folds. Yeah.
Okay, and so why would you think it concentrates there? Is that just is that like the base that gets shaken when, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of physics, really, in terms of when you put force through a tissue, where it all kind of starts to go wrong is in certain areas where you have differences in, like, the integrity of the tissue. So some tissue is soft and some is a little bit harder, and those interfaces are where everything kind of goes wrong.
What proportion of rugby players, whatever, who get a head knock or repeated head knocks end up with Alzheimer's? You know, do we know?
That is the big question. That is the question we're trying to answer, is how is it that some people can play their sport for a long time and they'll be absolutely fine, but other people are not? And we know that there's an increased risk of developing these diseases if you've got this repetitive head impact exposure. So hopefully the rams are one way that we could start looking at this, you know, quickly without having to do a 20-year-long longitudinal study, although that's also important.
Yeah, so, because, I mean, the thing is, like, with smoking, not every smoker will die of lung cancer, like half don't, you know. So is it just the same with rugby? I mean, you could have 100 people playing rugby, half will get Alzheimer's, half won't, or something.
Yeah, there's lots of different risk factors. So head injuries is one risk factor, but there are lots of other things that we know can affect your brain. So social isolation, cardiovascular disease, all sorts of different things can add to your risk factor. So it's possible that, you know, this is one of the risk factors that we know is important, and we need to understand how that interacts with other things.
So might not be the only one. That might be the difference between one person getting Alzheimer's and another not, is what else they're doing.
Yeah, these diseases are complicated. It's never incredibly simple as one thing causing it, but we know that repeated head impacts over many, many years can really increase your risk. So.
How did you get into studying the brain, this stuff?
I'm one of these athletes. I play ice hockey. I played for New Zealand for over 10 years and represented the Ice Ferns in 10 World Championship tournaments. So I've got skin in the game, you could say. And yeah, a lot of teammates who have been through some of these injuries.
Do you know what it feels like to get concussion?
Yes.
Right, and is it when, you know, sometimes when you shake your head or you hit your head or something, and it feels like your brain's moved?
Well, that is what is happening in the brain, is, you know, it's floating around inside of our skull, and when you have a knock, it's essentially bouncing back and forward, and that movement is what's causing the damage. But it's different for everybody in terms of what symptoms they might experience and how long they might last. And if you've had another concussion more recently, then that can make things even worse and lower that threshold, so it takes less impact to cause, you know, the same kind of symptoms.
Is it true that having a helmet on can actually make it worse?
It's a complicated situation with the helmets. I obviously play a helmeted sport. We still get concussions. It will reduce force of those impacts. It'll prevent things like a skull fracture or cuts, you know, that's really important. But it isn't stopping your brain from bouncing around inside your skull. So it's something that I think, you know, it is important to think about. How do we reduce the force of an impact? But it's not, you know, when we're talking about repeated head impacts, it's not the one thing that's going to stop it.
Would you, I don't know whether you've got children or not, but it doesn't really matter. Would you, if you had children or if you have, friends who've got children, advise them to get their kids playing rugby, or would you advise them against it?
I mean, look, I obviously am an athlete. I play these sports, and I think there are so many benefits to these sports, so I don't think it's about not playing them. I think it's about how do we play them well, how do we play them better to try and reduce the risk long term. So yeah, I'm not against sport in any way, and I love contact sports, and I hope that we can find ways through this research to play them better.
How do you deal with the rams, study the rams and not get rammed by the rams?
I'm working with some very experienced researchers on the farm who know how to do this. I predominantly study human brains, so they're the experts, and they'll help us make sure that everything is safe. And obviously we're going to do a lot of observing of the rams first to see how frequently they headbutt and how much variability there is, because some of them might do more of it than others, so we get a natural spread in how much impact they have.
Fascinating. Best of luck with your research.
Thank you.
Sounds very, very interesting indeed. Let us know when you got some results. Dr. Helen Murray, University of Auckland Centre of Brain Research.